Welcome to Earth Goddess Energy Healing with Kimberly Genovese. Thank you for joining me as we discuss this week's channel message. So let's take a deep breath. Release all of the heaviness that we're carrying from this week. Anything that isn't sitting right, anything that's causing us stress or worry. Let's take another deep breath in. Slowly let it out as we let all of our concerns and worries and stress just drift away. The overarching theme of this week is how to change your life, how to make it be the life that you want, how to create and manifest the life that aligns with who you are authentically. And we can talk about a lot of different ways of doing that. And we do talk about different things that help. But the message this week was that the root of all manifestation is changing your perspective. So last week we talked about love and the frequency of love and how important that is to tap into that when you're doing anything, actually. But especially when we're talking about changing your life, releasing what you don't want in your life, releasing what's not aligned with you, releasing what's not working with you for you anymore. So the key here is that when you want to change your outside world, it has to be done inside first. That's where it starts, because that's the root of it all, right? You are an energetic being. You have this subtle energy body around your physical body and within your physical body. There's so many different components with your chakra system and your aura and all the different layers of that subtle energy system. So when you are able to adjust the energy flow within your subtle energy system, that will trigger the changes in your outside world. So I know I'm not being super clear yet, and we're getting there. But Spirit wants you to have a baseline understanding. So we're building on this. We're creating building blocks here. So when you do the work inside of you, that will trigger your perception of everything in your life to change. So, okay, I'm gonna give you a personal example. I had a long period of time in my life where someone that I cared about, we ended up ending our relationship. And after that, because they were in pain, because they didn't know how to process what was happening, it appeared that they had a vendetta or were vindictive against me and would do things in this physical world just to make my life more difficult. So for a long time, I looked at that person as victimizing me. As a bully, as um, someone that I just disliked. It, and I felt disempowered through it all. I felt totally disempowered. So I had one summer where I had some time on my hands and I was doing a lot of meditation. I was really connecting to the guides and really feeling that high frequency vibe every day on a regular basis. And through that process, I realized that I was creating this world of victim for myself. I was creating this identity as a victim. I mean, yes, they were doing these things, but I wasn't looking at them as from a perspective of, okay, what can I learn from this? Why is this coming into my life? What is this mirroring for me? How am I reacting to this? How am I contributing to this cycle? Those are tough things to look at because you have to really be honest with yourself and just really dig deep and ask those hard questions and be open to the answers that come. So, through that process, I realized that I had learned so much about myself through that time period where they were choosing to, do things that wouldn't be considered nice or kind or in anybody's hierarchy. But it taught me so much. It taught me about myself. Through that time period, I had so many moments of awareness where I would react or make a decision. And, I would do it over and over. And then at some point, I would have this awareness that maybe I don't want to do it this way this time. Maybe that's not working out for me. Maybe that's not the person I want to be in this situation. So, over a large period of time, and it was a long time, it felt like a long time. I will be honest with you. I got to the point where I was like, this is never going to end. How can I make this stop? How can I make this stop? And you think about everything in the outside world. What can I do to stop this situation that's uncomfortable for me, that doesn't feel good, that is constantly challenging me? And so you're looking in the 3D world for answers, and that is not where you need to look. You need to look inside. And I know it's cliche. I know everyone says, that we create everything and everything happens for a reason and all of that. And it doesn't, if you're not ready to really change your perspective on it, all of that feels wrong. But when you are ready to see your role in the cycle that you don't like, in the cycle that doesn't feel like something that aligns with who you want to be, when you're ready to hear that and to make changes, that's when your aha moments will come. So for me personally, during one particular meditation, I realized that I wasn't a victim. I wasn't a victim. It was the way I was looking at the outside world and the outside forces that I had zero control over. I thought, well, what can I do? How can I control this? the only way that I can control it is by changing me, by changing how I was feeling, by changing how I was thinking, which ultimately led to a change in my perspective. So that person was difficult for me and challenging. But during this time period, I was able to see the gifts that I got from that experience, from that time period, which would have never, ever came without that person being the person that they were being. So I started developing gratitude for that, because that experience helped me to become the person that I was then at that moment. And I liked that person better. That was more aligned to who I wanted to be. I had strength. I was empowered. I didn't need to be a victim, because I wasn't a victim. I was not a victim. So I had a I had a beautiful forgiveness session with this person's higher self, their soul, which they don't even know anything about. It was just me. It was me working with that energy. And it allowed me to tap into that frequency of love. It allowed me to feel gratitude, to feel forgiveness, to genuinely have an understanding of why they were doing what they were doing. Not just because they wanted to get back at me, not just because they disliked me in that moment. And through that process, my perspective changed enough that my world looked different. And guess what? All of the actions that were happening that I desperately wanted to stop for years, stopped. And the only thing that had changed was me. It was me that changed. Instead of focusing on how can I change them, how can I change the situation, it changed me. And that changed everything. It was such a beautiful moment for me. So Spirit wanted me to share that experience with you because it was profound and it was such an eye-opener. And it's still even hard to express in words. So I tried to share my story with you. And I'll say that it ended, and it stayed ended. They may have tried a couple more times to just hook me back in there, but because my perspective was different, because I was approaching it differently, I was approaching it from a place of love and gratitude and understanding and zero fear. You have to let go of the fear. Because when you're making decisions from fear, when you're choosing your actions from fear, you're going to stay in that cycle, whatever it is. And I have to say, I know that I am not in any way minimizing anybody's traumatic experiences in this lifetime, because I know they happen every day. I'm not saying that people aren't victimized. I'm simply channeling a message from Spirit that if you want to step out of that world of feeling like a victim, it all starts with you. And most of the time, the forgiveness has to start with you also. I blamed myself for a lot. in that particular situation. And I made mistakes. I contributed. It's so, so important to forgive yourself. And that's the start. It's hard to forgive other people if you can't forgive yourself. So that has to be the first step. That has to be the first step. Forgiving yourself is empowering. I'm not talking about just ignoring or dismissing anything that you do. I'm talking about acknowledging what you did, owning it, understanding that that's where you were then, and you are a human that's growing through this process of your lifetime, and you're not that person anymore. And because of those experiences, that enabled you to not be that person anymore, because you learned, you're growing. So that's where the forgiveness comes in. You always have to own your stuff, but don't carry it. Release it. Let it go. Let it go. Again, they're saying, again, tapping into that love frequency. When you are living like a victim, you're in that low energy. You're in that low vibe energy. And so when I say you get empowered, that is actually raising your frequency, raising your vibe. Love yourself and love others. If you can go through your day loving each moment or accepting each moment with gratitude and for what it's bringing you, and looking at every single person you come into contact with as another soul that is simply having their experience and trying to do their best, and having empathy and understanding. You don't have to like everything. You don't have to like people's actions. You don't have to like their choices. You don't have to like what they're saying. But if you can go past all of that distraction from this three-dimensional world, and look at their heart, look at their soul, and understand that they're another soul. They're part of you, you're part of them. We're all part of the same universal energy. So when you hold them up, when you are able to look at them with eyes of love, you're reflecting that back to yourself. You're holding yourself up. And when you look at an individual and you judge them and you dismiss them, that is what you're giving to yourself. It's coming back to you. So empower yourself. Empower yourself through this process. It is so important for all of us to feel empowered. I can't say that word enough. Empowerment. Empowerment drives creativity. Empowerment drives empathy and understanding. Because if you're feeling good about yourself, if you're feeling confident about yourself, then you are able to share that with other people. You don't feel threatened. You don't feel defensive, right? You just feel good and you want to share that. So love each other. Look past all of the noise and see the soul. Empower yourself. When you want to step out from being a victim, again, it starts with changing your perspective, your decision making, your choices, your frequency. Ultimately, it's your frequency. Because when you're vibing in that frequency of love, then you do have empathy. Then you do care. Then you are there for other people. You can see people, you can see past the physical body. You can see past the life choices, and you can see that soul, which is pure love, just like your soul is love. It's love and light. We all carry our light. So remember, we need you to shine your light. We need you to spread love and joy everywhere you go, but we need you to shine your light, because your light empowers me and my light empowers you. And if we were all able to shine our light within us brightly, we would shed light on the world and all the nonsense and all the deceit and lies and distraction that seems to be happening in our world, right? So with that, if you feel that this channeled message has helped you, or you like what you hear, please subscribe, like the video, and I hope you're able to see the light in yourself so that you can see the light in others. So with that, I see the light in you. Namaste.